City of Stevens Point Redevelopment Authority meeting, recorded August 11, 2020.
It's 3 o'clock. I'll call the August 11th, 2020 Redevelopment Authority to order. Director will take a roll call.
Schleiss.
Here.
Gardner is excused. Kneebone.
Here.
Cooper.
Here.
Hameter.
Here.
Laddick. Barrett.
Here.
Alrighty. Number 2, persons who wish to address the board on specific agenda items other than a public hearing must register the request at this time. Those who wish to address the board during a public hearing are not required to identify themselves until a public hearing is declared open by the chairperson. We do not have a public hearing. Anybody registering, Ryan?
No.
Alrighty, then we'll skip number 3. Number 4, minutes and actions of the Redevelopment Authority meetings of July 14th, 2020. Any questions?
I make a motion that we approve the report of the July 14th, 2020 redevelopment meeting.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Cooper.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Financial reports, claims, and statements from June 2020. Director.
Nothing substantial to report. Staying relatively consistent with what we've had in the past, so would recommend approval as presented.
I move that we approve the report of the financial reports, claims, and statements from June 2020.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Kneebone will second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Did Baker Tilly come on yet, Director?
I do not see them on quite yet, so
Okay, we'll move over then. Number 7, development agreement for redevelopment of the Fox Theater. Director.
okay. So before you tonight is the proposed development agreement between the City of Stevens Point, the Redevelopment Authority, and Wildcard Corporation, which is the selected proposer to redevelop portions of the Fox Theater. I did include, as part of tonight's package, both of the proposals. There was a lot of discussion about this last night. The city issued the RFP on March 16th, 2020, and left the RFP open until June 12th, 2020. At that point, proposals are due to my office. We received 2, one from Wildcard Corporation and one from DB Green. The Wildcard Corporation, well, I should back up a little bit here too. We had a selection group put together of myself, Mayor Wiesa, Alder Tory Jennings, Sarah Brish from the Stevens Point Area Convention Visitors Bureau, and Todd Kakan as well. Chairman Schleiss, I could keep going, but I do see Cameron Sawyer from Baker Tilly is on the call if you wanted to turn it back over to him if you wanted to postpone.
Sure, we will go back to item number 6, presentation of 2019 audit report by Baker Tilly.
Hey everyone, sorry for the technical difficulties, having a little bit of problems with the Zoom link. And so I guess I didn't want to interrupt. If you guys were in the middle of something, I can jump right on afterwards, or I can continue with our presentation. Was your preference, Ryan? Go ahead. All right. Well, like I said, my name's Cameron Sawyer. I'm part of Baker Tilly. I'm a senior associate on your engagement for the financial audit. So thanks again for having us continue to serve as your auditors. I'm probably a new face for most of you if you've served on the board before. A lot of you have probably worked with Carla Gogan in the past. And so Carla Gogan is enjoying some vacation today. So she's letting me take the helm on the presentation as well. So if there's anything that I'm not covering or something that you'd like me to cover in a little bit more detail, please let me know, or raise your hands or add a comment in the chat function, and I'll try to be monitoring that throughout this presentation. So first and foremost, jumping right into the presentation, just wanted to inform the board that we are issuing a clean, unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion that an audit firm can provide on the financial statements. And in addition, with providing a clean opinion, we also did not have any material journal entries for 2019. And so that's actually going to be a change from 2018. We had a few material entries that we had as part of the financial audit. But in 2019, I'm happy to report that there was none. So thank you, Ryan, to you and your staff, as well as Corey and Sarah, for providing the information and for how great that material is provided. I'm going to share my screen if I'm allowed to.
Sure.
You should be able to. I did make you a co-host of this meeting, so.
It looks like I am. All right, so I have the, as part of your agenda packet, the communication to those charged with governance open. This is going to be a little bit different format that the city was in, so it will be a little bit different information. So hopefully we'll keep this live and interesting for you. We are reporting, as part of our financial audit, a material weakness over financial reporting. And what that means is that the board or the RA doesn't have the staff, or does not dedicate the staff to prepare the financial statements. The city doesn't prepare their financials as well. So that's not something that we would expect for an entity the size of the RA. Typically, hiring up a staff to be able to provide those services is just not feasible. So we would continue to, obviously, for any of these controls, kind of figure out what the cost as opposed to the actual reward or the mitigation of risk. And so as part of that weakness over financial reporting, we basically make a comment that, we say that to resolve this comment, there would have to be adequate staff to prepare the financial statements. We already have this checklist where there were no material misstatements identified this year. So that would be part of it as well. Not only would you have to prepare the financial statements, but they would need to be clear. They would need to be clear of any material misstatements. As well as there need to be an independent review of someone who is preparing the financial statement. So essentially, you'd have to have two people who have a solid understanding of the financial reporting process. Any questions on the material weakness over financial reporting? As I see none, I'll keep going. Part of this, our two-way communication, just wanted to comment here that really our audit doesn't stop with, our field work. You as a board members, if you have any concerns, comments, or questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We're always happy and are willing to answer any questions that you may have in regards to the status of your audit or potential concerns that will affect your upcoming audit. The only other control point we have identified for the RA results is due to the accounting system that the city has, which is Civic. And there are just a few control items that, such as passwords, that just don't meet the minimum requirements for best practice. As cybersecurity gets more and more important, these rules get more and more complex. So for a city your size or an entity your size, having these type of items is not, I would say, uncommon. And so we continue to work with the city and the RA to determine the best practices and how to remediate these with the current systems that are in place. Again, we are considering the cost of remediating these controls over the risk that they would present a material misstatement in your financial statements. Any question on the information technology control point? All right. Next in this document, it talks about the responsibilities that we have as an auditor, as well as plan scope of the audit, some discussion on the accounting estimates, as well as discussing any disagreements with management and any entries or other items that we needed to correct as part of our audit. One of the most important things for an auditor to be is independent from the city. So we are required to list any items that we consider non-attest services or non-audit services as to make it very clear in this letter. So we prepare the financial statements, which is technically a responsibility of management and a non-attest service. So that's on here. Civic Systems is a subsidiary of Baker Tilly, so we list that on here as well. And Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors does provide some assistance on occasion with human resource related items. And that's just, again, due to the capacity of what the city hires. Instead of hiring, additional staffing for, human service related things, we may answer some calls or questions on that. Again, mitigating the need for extra personnel to cover certain things. Next is just a letter describing what the city and the RA identify as responsibilities. I would recommend when you do have time to review this document, this is basically everything that the RA is agreeing that they provided to us and that we have an understanding as part of our financial audit. So next is the big document that I think will bore most people, but really a lot of good information. And as I had mentioned prior, we issued unmodified opinion, which you'll see here on Roman numeral I and double I. And we issued our opinion on July 14th. No concerns that were identified during our financial audit. A good place to start when you have when you're reviewing your financial statements is what we like to call the management discussion and analysis. And this will really be a summary of what happened during the year. What were the good things? What were the bad things? Kind of what changed from last year? And this is something that we've helped the city and the RA in the past kind of come up with a template of good things to have in here. So I won't obviously read this whole document, but all good things this year as part of our audit. If we're looking at here on this next page, we'll see that, obviously our cash position improved from 2018 to 2019. We saw an increase of 192,000. So liquidity obviously is an important measure when we're talking about the overall health of an organization, especially, when we're talking about weathering the storm of COVID and other disasters in the area and how the RA may have additional now needs. So those would be, any of these assets would be to cover any expenses as a result of those type of things. Any questions on these first few pages? See all nods. All right. Next, there's revenues and expenses. Last year, there was a significant, if you see here on my mouse, in 2018, there was a significant amount of essentially what we like to call non-operational revenue. And a lot of that came with what the city moved over to the RA to provide services. And Ryan would have a little bit of a better explanation on the programs that that was meant for in 2018. But that money is still and that's part of the reason why you have such a buildup in revenue and cashes on the financial audit side. So that's why you see this big jump from 2018 was considered kind of an odd or a one-off year in comparison to 2019 for revenue. So don't let that number scare you. 2019 was more of a regular from an operational revenue standpoint. And kind of what you like to see here as well, expenses all staying relatively similar, with the exception last year, according to accounting, the way that we need to account for capital assets and what most of the assets are of the city or in the RA, is land held for resale. And so if there's the intent to sell land at $1 or give it away for nothing, which is a big part of what the RA does, we have to value at essentially the value that we would be giving the asset away. So last year, a significant dollar amount and recognized as expense was accounted for to take care of writing it down, those land values down to what they are, as where you have this year, it's only 25,000. So a significant decrease. Any question on revenues and expenses? All right, you will see there was a negative net position or net change of about 43,000. Still very good considering all the activity the RA went through this year. This next page, you'll have a summary of the different assets held by the RA. So still assets are slightly down from last year, which is primarily driven by the increase or 100% driven by the increase in accumulated depreciation. Most of these assets are depreciated outside of land over a fixed period of time. I'll stop with the financial statements there and open up to the entire committee if there's any questions or concerns that you'd like to ask me or any additional information you'd like me to go over. Everyone's just so excited about financial statements. Well, Ryan's doing a great job. He is great to work with. And again, I really appreciate everyone, at the RA and at the city for everything that they help and provide. We've helped out on a few other projects here and there for the RA as well. So we are a resource as needed. And as I mentioned before, please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have.
Any questions? Apparently not.
All right. Well, everyone, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks for presenting. All right, if I could get a motion to accept the audit report and place it on file.
I will so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Cooper.
We have a motion and second. Discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alrighty, back to redevelopment of Fox Theater. Director?
Okay, thank you. So as I was discussing earlier, the city received two proposals, one from Wildcard Corporation and one from DB Green. Again, I've included both of those proposals as part of it. So what we ended up doing is we issued the request for proposal, and then once the June 12th date came and went, there was a small selection group of myself, Mayor Wiesa, Alder, Tori Jennings, Sarah Brish from the Convention and Visitor Bureau, and then Todd Kakan from the Portage County Business Council. We all ranked each proposal based on the criteria outlined within the request for proposal document, and then met up and opted, these scores are fairly close, why not bring them both in and do some interviewing? So we interviewed both candidates. kind of talked about their knowledge of the property, what they're proposing to do with the property. And ultimately, we have, in the interest of staff's time and energy, decided to work with Wildcard on their proposal. So the Wildcard proposal itself involves the redevelopment authority really for one purpose only, but it's important for you to know the whole proposal in general. They are proposing to convert the existing open space where the theater once stood behind the remaining portion of the building into a beer garden and event space, small stage, and then some green space on the north side. Currently, where the redevelopment authority owns the private landscape, or that landscaping area on the north side. As this body may recall, a few years ago, through some donations and then working with Landscapes for Life Foundation, we had put up a gazebo, a small tranquility-esque garden, some benches, and some picnic tables as well. So that would be relocated at the cost to the city. That would be paid out through TIF number 6. And that's why really you're party to this proposed development agreement and why you need to be involved in these conversations. So why we opted to go for the Wildcard proposal as opposed to the DB Green proposal really is because of the nature of what Wildcard is proposing to do. The beer garden and event space on the actual building, the stage area, we think was consistent with this donation agreement that we have to quasi adhere by between the Arts Alliance and the Sanders family. If we read through it, we think that this was more consistent with what that donation agreement had outlined, as opposed to the DB Green proposal, which had retail on the first floor and then a number of different options on the second floor in the existing ballroom area, anything from luxury apartments to an event space to a restaurant. Really, at the end of the day, when you receive proposals, what you want to do is understand what that person's going to do with that property or that specific scenario. And the DB Green proposal just was too fluid in nature, and we really had a concern with that. Again, the Wildcard proposal was consistent with what we were looking for in general. If you can see, I can share my screen here real quick, just to give you a taste of kind of what's going on. As you can see, here's the Fox Theater itself. This is what they're proposing to purchase from the Redevelopment Authority. We're still working with them on what that space will look like, but relocating the existing green space here to this area adjacent to Strongs Avenue. The developer, Wildcard, has agreed to pay for the new parking area. We do have an easement agreement with the Q Gallery that we have to adhere to, and so we'd be adjusting the easement agreement to Q Gallery by providing additional access to their building from this area here. The existing parking area would go away, and again, the developer would be paying for all those improvements. The city would take on the cost to relocate the gazebo and some of this green space back here adjacent to Strongs Avenue. And in like, you know, it's not going to be the exact same thing, but something similar in nature, scope, and size. So the proposed development agreement in front of you today, Wildcard would agree to purchase the Fox Theater building as is, which is really important, no later than December 31st, 2020, for consideration of $1. They would also purchase the green space behind the Fox to Wildcard, also for $1. Again, they would agree to remove and reconstruct the access roadway as part of their request. That the city would agree to pay for the relocation of the landscaping area behind the Fox. That would come out of TIF number 6. The term of the development agreement would essentially take place from the date final occupancy occurs through the next 5 years. What we don't want is Wildcard to receive the property, do some of these improvements, and then not follow through with the proposal. Or sell the property and they would do something else with it, luxury apartments, whatever else, so that it would be consistent with what the city has, what the city wants to see for the redevelopment of this project. The city can reclaim ownership of the property if the developer fails to meet any requirements of the development agreement, and then not necessarily through this organization, but we would provide a facade grant. Currently, the developer is looking for the maximum amount of $30,000. that may change. And another project that DB Green had done in the downtown area, we'd actually gone up to about 90,000. So it's not uncommon with special common council approval that we do provide additional facade grant monies to developers depending on the size of the project. Last night, the Finance Committee did meet and did recommend approval to the City Council. That will be final. That will be taken up next week. And then from there on out, we'd be working on getting everything teed up for Plan Commission to approve the selling of the property. The City Council will do the final, and this body as well. And so we hope to have the property flipped over to Wildcard, I would say no later than end of September at the earliest. So again, before you use the development agreement, pretty consistent with what we've seen in the past. More than happy to answer any questions that the Redevelopment Authority may have. Additionally, I believe Greg Goyke from Wildcard Corporation is on the call and could answer any questions that you folks have as well.
Director, has the financials of this company been reviewed to make sure that they have the wherewithal to move forward with the project?
My understanding from conversations with the developers, if there's going to be limited borrowing from financial institutions, a lot of it's going to be cash on hand. We would require some type of, if they were going to go through the financing of the project, we would require some type of note from the bank saying that, yes, we're going to finance for up to this amount of money. Unfortunately, the last few months, we've been burned on a few of these projects where project starts and then all of a sudden we don't have, or we found out the developer didn't have the financial resources to do a project. So we definitely want to be cognizant of that, especially just given the local nature of the developer themselves. So,
Commissioners, any questions, concerns? What's your wishes?
I have one question. Yes, maybe two. The green space, I know the slide you showed had the green space covering part of Strong's Avenue. That it's not going to expand into that. It's just going to be that little segment behind the bus area.
correct. Yeah. So unfortunately, Microsoft Word is not the greatest when I make circles on that on these documents. So no, Strong's Avenue is not changing. It's going to be this green space here that's going to be most likely impacted. This area just north of Goose. This is their outdoor seating area. Here's the city transit center. So yeah, this green space would be here. It's smaller in square footage than what's currently existing. So again, we're going to look to replace this in kind as much as we can, but not try to fit everything in there because it won't all fit just because of the size of it.
How about that parking area? How many cars are you going to be able to, or vehicles will you fit in there?
We're still looking through and working with Public Works and the developer on seeing how that's going to work out. It won't be substantial. I mean, you're probably looking at anywhere between 7 and 10 cars at most. The developer would like to see some type of electric car charging station in that area, and that's an agreement that we'll have to work on with them to maintain and install those types of facilities.
Other questions?
Chair, I have a comment, or I don't know if it's a question. I like the look of the facade without the marquee. I think it's very striking. And I know last night you said the Historical Society is looking at moving the marquee. Not having been raised in Point and having no emotional attachment to the theater, in my mind, it's an improvement to remove the marquee. Can anyone speak to why that's such an endearing part of downtown?
So I guess real quick, I will I'll add that, and I forgot to mention it in my brief presentation, but the plan is for both the wildcard proposal and for the DB Green proposal to remove the Fox marquee and restore the bandstand and kind of the building to its original looking facade from whenever the building was built, 1898, just to, I guess, bring back that historic opera house looking facade. I know that some folks have been working with the Historical Society on relocating the Fox Marquee. I don't know. I'm not from Stevens Point. I don't know why there's a lot of affection towards it, but my understanding is that that marquee was installed in the 41 remodel. And so pretty much everyone who's alive today only knows the building with that marquee. And so there is some emotional attachment to it, but both developers had really no use for it and believe that restoring the building to its original look is more important to them than restoring it to the 41 remodel.
I'll speak that the marquee that's out there, like you said, is only a modern thing. Once they got the electrical lights became more popular. For a while, there was kind of like a boxy marquee in the front, but I don't believe it. The pictures I've seen, it did not hold any announcements about coming attractions or what was playing at the time. I don't think it makes that much of a difference, really.
I don't either. What's your wishes? Do we have a motion to approve the recommended changes?
I also move that we recommend the proposed changes and accept the developers agreement as recommended by the council.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is
Nebo.
Cooper. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Director will take the roll.
Slice,
Aye.
Kneebone,
Aye.
Cooper,
Aye.
Kemeter,
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
That's 5-0.
Motion passes. Number 8, Environmental Protection Agency Community-Wide Brownfield Assessment Grant Activities. Director.
Again, as we mentioned, we did get the phase 2 back from the Shopko parking lot. We're having challenges getting into the actual Shopko building to do some boring. There's a hedge fund company or holding company out of the East Coast that's really driving a lot of this conversation. So we've been working towards coming up to some ability to get into that building. We have expended a number of the grant dollars. I actually have a call with Stantec next week to see, if we're interested in applying for the next grant cycle. It's been a really successful program for the city. We have literally saved thousands of dollars going through this grant program. So it's likely that we'll come back to this body asking that we apply for it this next go around. Again, very successful. It's been a great resource for city staff as we look for redevelopment opportunities and things of that nature. So,
Questions of the director? Alrighty, I don't think we need any motions on that. Number 9, director's update.
I included just a brief memo outlining the downtown targeted area master plan, the city loan program administration as well. It also should be noted that I am walking 2 parties through the Mid-State Technical College tomorrow morning to give us quotes on the vapor mitigation system that we've been proposing. Outside of that, there's nothing else that we can discuss in open session.
Questions of the director? All righty, I don't think we need any motion on that either. Enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 paren 1 paren E for deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session related to the following: negotiating an amendment to the development agreement for 1017 3rd Street, the North Side Yard, former Lullaby site, the purchase of property within TIF increment district number 10. I need a motion to go into closed session.
Nebo on here. So, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mary. No, go ahead.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any
All right.
discussion?
Sounds good.
Pick your order, Director. Director will take the roll.
Slice.
Aye.
Gardner's not here. Kneebone.
Aye.
Cooper.
Aye.
Cameter.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
5-0.
We are in closed session.
Go ahead, Chairman Schleiss.
All righty, we are in open session and we will be dealing with one item only in open session, and that's the amendment to the development agreement for 1017 3rd Street, Northside Yard, former Lullaby site. Commissioners?
Chair,
Anybody have a motion?
I would move approval of the staff recommendation with adding the requirement of proof of financing to be produced in 120 days.
All righty, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Cameter will second.
And a second. Discussion. All righty, the director will take the roll.
Slice.
Aye.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Cooper.
Aye.
Cameter.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Thank you all for taking time out on this afternoon, and we are adjourned.
Videos of these meetings are available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.